Thank you for those questions. First and foremost, my name is Ronnie Morris. I'm an assistant chief of police in the Grand Prairie, Texas Police Department. And as you very well know, domestic violence is a scourge across our nation. And not only are there too many victims over the years of domestic violence, but over the past year in particular, the pandemic has really caused us to see a massive increase in domestic violence incidents around the country, and we're no exception in Grand Prairie. But the challenge that it has presented to us is um, a lot of the victims maybe don't have the outlet to necessarily get away and have a private moment to call the police, or the victim may even be a child, and they're not going to school, and there's no responsible adult maybe seeing visible injuries or anything like that. So the last year has been a challenge to say the least, with our ability to actually help and assist those victims who are in a domestic violence crisis situation. So I'm don't have the numbers in front of me of how many domestic violence related calls that we respond to annually, but it's far higher than it should be. And again, we've seen an increase of upwards to 200% over the last year in instances of domestic violence. So not only is it still occurring, but it's occurring at a greater rate. And that's just what's reported to us. So we don't even know exactly what the rate of domestic violence incidents actually is in our city.
Right. So I never reported anything. And because I figured I associated any kind of abuse to actually be just physical hitting or some kind of physical trauma, throws me against a wall, down the stairs, puts his hands around me in some form or fashion. That was my thinking, that's the only thing abuse really is. So what I learned was that I was terrified of this man, even though he never laid a hand on me, because he told me what he could do to me. He told me what he could do to other people. He was very volatile, had a very loud temper, was angry like immediately. If I said something wrong, if I acted wrong, if I said it the wrong way, like I had a bad attitude, if I didn't say anything at all, it almost didn't matter what I did to try to squelch the heightened tension. It didn't really seem to matter. So, what would you tell a victim who might be listening to this, who may be stuck now at home? He's home, and how does she connect with either the outside world, or how does she tell people that she needs help? Is there any way without her getting in more trouble with her abuser?
Well, you bring up a very good point in the um, controlling mechanism that abusers use, and threats are a very big part of that. They'll threaten not only the victim themselves, but also threaten family, and tell them that no one will believe them. You said physical violence is what you saw as domestic assault, but there's a lot more to it than that. There's intimidation verbally. There's shaming someone, talking down to them, telling them they're worthless. So I mean, there's lots of forms that domestic abuse comes in, and one of the things that we see for people not reporting is fear, as you said, but also shame, embarrassment. That maybe they feel like they got themselves in this situation and they don't want anyone else to know about it. And those are all things that it's difficult for someone who's not in that situation to understand, but that's very real to victims of domestic abuse. So it also makes it difficult in reporting. So the first thing that I would say is, if you do have the ability to call 911, please do so. The police department are here to protect you and to help you through the situation, um, not to shame you and make you feel lesser of a person because you called. We want to help and make sure that you're safe, that your family's safe, and that this person who has been your abuser not only answers for what they've done to you, but then gets help in return for what it is that they've done, and to ensure that they don't do this type of thing again. But to be able to have a trusted person for you to speak with, whether it be a family member, a friend, someone that you maybe speak to online, some way to report to someone that you are in a violent situation and that you need help to get out of it.
Awesome. That's wonderful, wonderful advice. I really appreciate that. I could have used that myself. That would have been great. So that brings up my question. When you go to rescue someone, do you have local community collaborations that you work with? And what happens with the abuser?
So that's a great question. So typically I'll just use an example that we get a call that someone has been assaulted, and we arrive on scene. We'll assess the situation. We'll listen to both sides of the story because that's, the
It's fair.
appropriate thing to do. Once we make the determination that an assault has occurred, a domestic violence assault has occurred, um, typically what we do is we'll arrest the offender and we will bring them to jail. We'll then provide some pamphlet type material to a victim so that they can know some of the resources that are out there to help them escape their abusive situation. Um, from that point, we'll ask them, do you have a safe place to be?